Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I have a Bjorn's Mighty Thoughts video. And basically I'm just going to sit here and discuss something, and primarily today's focus is going to be on Sprocket, and I'm going to talk about multiplayer and what I think multiplayer could look like, or what it could be. Obviously, everybody, comment section down below, throw in what you think multiplayer could be, or how it could be set up, how it would work. And here, let's just dive on into it. I got some Sprocket gameplay footage here for you to enjoy while I just sit here and talk. Now, for those in the Sprocket community who've actually seen the roadmap, I know not everybody who's probably going to see this video has seen the roadmap, but there actually is a roadmap, and this is just a little section of that roadmap, and a part of that section is multiplayer. Now, I've talked to many of the players in the community of what multiplayer could look like. We've had some discussions, light discussions more or less, not really diving too deep into what the multiplayer could look like or how it would work, things of that nature. And I'm just going to kind of weigh in on what I would actually like to see out of the multiplayer. Personally, what I'd like to see is a more emphasis and focus actually on co-op, because I feel this would be a great game actually for co-op, where people could bring their designs, whatever it is. Game balance really isn't a necessary evil. Balance in design, things of that nature really wouldn't be as important with co-op as it would be with like a PvP. And then, of course, it would just be mission-based. Maybe something along the lines of whoever sets up the whoever sets up the lobby, have it set up so that way it's an individual player actually setting up the lobby themselves. You could probably do it as a peer-to-peer. I'm not too sure what would be the best way to go on that route. I am definitely not some expert when it comes to setting up servers and things of that nature. But as a thought, you just set up a private lobby, set it up for co-op, pick the mission, pick the era, and then you could set it up to maybe something along the lines of, well, we'll have 6 players, we'll have 6 slots. Players can come in, you can either lock it with a password, so that way you can keep it private with just your buddies, or you could keep it open so anyone can join the lobby. You could set up the tonnage, maximum tonnage per player, and that would maybe limit on what people are bringing and stuff of that nature. It wouldn't be a good idea to be setting up a World War I scenario and people are showing up in King Tigers. So you could set up like a maximum weight, what eras they can play. Now, obviously, they could play an earlier era. So say if you're mid-war, set up for mid-war, somebody could show up with an interwar era tank or an early war era tank, as long as it's within the weight limit. And I would just, honestly, I'd keep it simple, stupid. I wouldn't have like a turret maximum and a hull maximum. I would honestly just set it up as a maximum tonnage. That way, I don't know, I've had some issues actually with my Hetzer. The Hetzer hull, it counts as just hull weight, and certain missions I can't take it into because its hull is too heavy, even though it's lighter than some of my turreted vehicles that I have in the game that I can use in the same mission, yada yada yada. And also with that in mind, if you have it mission based, you could do it battle based. Hopefully by then we could actually do custom missions where we're setting up our own objectives, how many enemies there's going to be, the types of enemies that's going to be deployed, where they're going to spawn, etc. As well as it would actually be nice to see some kind of map tool. So that way we could create our own maps. We could have maybe some building assets added into the game that we could do urban combat scenarios, which would be it'd be a nice addition to the game. Just some more scenarios in general would be a nice addition to the game, outside of even just for multiplayer, and having a scenario creator and maybe a map creator where we can create our own maps, create our own missions, and it would definitely give the game more longevity because people can create their own battlefields. It would allow people to bring in different types of tanks. I personally actually like making tank destroyers, especially of the turretless variety right now. The only problem is because of how the game is currently set up, it really doesn't benefit showing up into battles with turretless style tank destroyers. Because of not having a turret, it's actually a weakness, especially when the enemy wants to push. It also allows for the ability for people to maybe show up in light tanks. You know, Buddy XY brings in light tanks, Buddy Z brings in tank destroyers, and you have 3 guys that show up in medium tanks. And you could change your tactics and come up with different ideas of how to execute different types of battlefield scenarios. And that would allow flexibility just to do different various things. So I would definitely really hope that there's some kind of emphasis on PvE aspects, co-op aspects of the game. Now, when it comes to PvP, I feel that's going to be kind of more different than probably what most people are used to, especially in the realm of World of Tanks, War Thunder, and Armored Warfare. What I would do is because essentially there is definitely, right now with the way the game is set up, there's definitely designs that are way better than others. Mostly has to do with armor angling, even though honestly some of that armor angling does create problems in itself. But, you know, I have an AMX ELC 90. Its front upper glacis plate is only 20 millimeters thick. And I've actually bounced 128 millimeter rounds off of the upper glacis plate. Not having some kind of overmatch mechanic or, you know, high penetration mechanic or hull break mechanic, whatever you want to call it, kind of really hampers the balance of some of these vehicles that are even in my garage. And what I'm afraid of is if you have a randomized system such as what World of Tanks has, it can definitely create a toxic atmosphere. And I definitely really wouldn't want to see that happen to the community. Right now, as things stands, I feel that Sprocket actually has a very good community, a very helpful community. When you have questions, you can ask questions and people will answer your questions to the best of their ability. It's nice just to hang out with these people, etc. And I really wouldn't want to see that get ruined because we add PvP into the game. So I really honestly think the best way to go about PvP is making it a private system where you're setting up a lobby. You might have a 4 versus 4 or a 6 versus 6 or an 8 versus 8, whatever. You can set your own era. You can set the tonnage limit, just like I said earlier with the co-op. And basically, you know, it's just a private thing that you're doing with buddies. You could do it to test out different builds, find out what works, what doesn't work, especially in the realm of these builds that just people don't, you know, people are just creating on their own, that they're just trying to find solutions to make their builds better. The other thing too is what would be nice to see if there is a PvP setup is maybe different various match types, where maybe you have something like a domination where you got to control sectors, gain points, and that's how you win the match. You could have your team deathmatch scenarios. You could have free-for-all scenarios, things of that nature. And once again, what you can put into play is if you can customize your own missions for PvP, a PvP player base, you could set it up to where there's different spawn points for the teams, etc. And once again, it would add actually more longevity to the game. With that being said, also there's also talk about having Steam Workshop support, which I'm definitely sure that's coming up the pipe here within the next 6 to 9 months. We're going to be seeing the Steam Workshop support, and I just got a feeling that having Steam Workshop support in a situation where your PvP is randomized could actually make things much worse for the game itself. So actually, I think a randomized PvP system would definitely ruin the game, and that it should be a private PvP system where you're setting up a lobby and you're limiting different factors, and basically you're playing against your buddies, you're having a good time, And to me, that's what this game is really about, is just having a good time, having a fun building these stupid, ridiculous builds that go to, go at the speed of sound, or, having these very conservative builds that are, basically your historic type tank builds, your more realistic builds, or even just these crazy builds where you got all kinds of crazy armor angling and some kind of super long, high caliber gun with a ridiculously stupid reload. And I think with all that in mind, with what Sprocket is and what Sprocket emphasizes on, which is customizing tanks and creating tanks of your own design, I just feel that having everything privatized, your co-op and your PvP, and kind of like its own private thing where someone is the host, setting up a lobby themselves, would actually, that would be more beneficial to how the game currently is. And I know the game is going to change more, but I think the core aspects of the game, what we see currently, is not going to change. It's all going to be emphasized around the freedom to design your own vehicles. And, that's a good thing in my opinion, because it makes this game different than any other tank game out there. But anyway, folks, that's me weighing in on what I would like to see from multiplayer, what I think would actually be best for some type of multiplayer. And definitely, please, feel more than free to comment down below. Weigh in what you think, weigh in what you feel. If you agree with me, disagree with me, maybe you got a slightly better idea, maybe an idea that would improve on what I said, whatever. Anyway, folks, hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have yourself a wonderful day.